morning, everybody. It's Emily at Arg Schooling, and I'm coming to you with a bit of a book list, so let's chat. So here we are, not even a full week after the election, and I've been trying to think, what can I do here? And somebody messaged me and they wanted to know what they could share with their children, what books they could share to help them understand how we got here. And she phrased it in a way that was like, I understand if that's too big of an ask, and you don't really have to answer me, but I was like, no, thank you. You've given me something to do, so let me do that. And so I gave her a few recommendations, and then I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it. And so here we are. I have stacks of books next to me, and we're gonna work through this together. I have some recommendations to help you understand why we're here, and to help your children understand why we're here. So let's just do this, shall we? So, honestly, a really solid year of American history, bare minimum, would be great. But if you don't have time for that, these books, I think, would be great starting places. So I have to start with one of my favorite recommendations. This is A Different Mirror, A History of Multicultural America by Ronald Takaki. This book is a great, focused lens on immigrants and immigration and how different groups of people came to America, why they came, how they affected American culture, that sort of thing. So this is the adult version. There's also a for young readers edition. I use both of these in Build Your Library. This is in level 12. The young readers version is in levels 5 and 6. So if you're using either of those levels, you're already going to be reading this. But like I said, if you just want a little bit of a crash course, I think this is a great resource for that. Focusing on immigration, if you want to just read about that, this is another great resource. This Land is Our Land, A History of American Immigration by Linda Barrett Osborne. This is exactly what it sounds like. It is a book about different people groups who came to America. It's got more sidebar illustration-y type things. This is also in Build Your Library levels 5 and 6. So again, you might already have this in your pile. So if you want to focus on just that for a minute. This is a great way to kind of understand how all of us are immigrants, how there's always been a sentiment of we don't want those people here. Always. As long as there have been people coming to America, coming to the United States, there have been other whiter people saying, hey, not those people. So this might be a way to kind of understand why we're here and how we got to that point. Then I have these two books. Both of these are kind of the same thing, so if you don't have to read both. One or the other will do. So I have Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. And I have We Are Not Yet Equal, Understanding Our Racial Divide by Carol Anderson with Tanya Bolden. So both of these, like I said, are very similar. You don't need to read both necessarily, but this, I'm giving you two options in case one is unavailable to you. So these both explore racism and how American society and culture is kind of based around this concept of white supremacy. So these are both great resources. This one is in level 12. I haven't scheduled this one anywhere, but I think it would fit really well in levels 5 and 6. Just saying, both of these are great resources though. If you want to talk about fake news and how disinformation affected the news cycle and affected the outcome of the election. Read True or False. A CIA Analyst's Guide to Spotting Fake News. This is by Cindy L. Otis. I've talked about this before, but this is a really solid resource to understand that fake news is not new. It's been around since there have been people telling news. So if it's always been a problem, and this will help you better understand how to spot it, how to think more critically about what you see and hear, how to understand why disinformation is so prevalent and how to fight against that. So I would say this is like required reading for anyone in high school, but like you could read this with like a middle school age child. I think there are some passages that might be a little bit too much. I would pre-read to see what you want to read to your children or what you think they can understand and comprehend, but like definitely high schoolers must read. If you have younger kids, this one I haven't read all the way through yet, but I've done some flipping through. This is called Big Lies, From Socrates to Social Media, and it's by Mark Kurlansky. Kind of the same concept as True or False. This one is focusing on, again, critical thinking skills and how to understand why media might sometimes share misinformation and how to spot it and better understand it. So media literacy, honestly, is something I think we absolutely need to ensure our children are prepared to enter the world and understand like how to comprehend the news, how to filter out that disinformation. If you want to better understand fascism and you want to better understand what we're dealing with right now, this is a great resource. It's called Strongman, The Rise of Five Dictators and the Fall of Democracy. This is by Kenneth C. Davis. And it is a little bit more dense, so I would say upper middle grades, maybe read slowly through. High school definitely could handle this. So this is a book about how countries fall to dictatorships and how those dictatorships pan out. How do authoritarian leaders, strong men capable of killing millions, acquire their power? And how are they able to defeat the ideal of democracy? And what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again? So this covers Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Saddam Hussein. And he answers those questions, like how do these men get the power they have to begin with? Why are we so quick to hand it over to them? And what do those men do with that power? So I think this is a pretty solid resource if you want to focus just on that. If you want to talk about where dehumanization of groups of people will get you, I have some books for you there too. So if you want to focus on American history, read Uprooted. This is by Albert Marin, and this is all about Japanese internment. This is an explanation of why American government would say, hey, why don't we start rounding up the Japanese Americans? And where does that lead? Like, what happens to those groups of people when they are dehumanized and people start to consider them other? So this, like I said, focuses on the Japanese internment camps, and it's a really great resource. It's full of pictures, sidebars, and it tells you, like, this is everything you could possibly want to know. So lots and lots of great information in here. It's very readable. Again, this is in Build Your Library, level 12. So definitely recommend that. How about talking about the Holocaust? Where does dehumanization of groups of people lead? It leads to this. So this is Questions I Am Asked About the Holocaust. This is the Young Readers Edition, and it is by Heidi Fried, and it's translated by Alice E. Olson. And this one's illustrated, and there's a bookmark in here. So there are illustrations, and it is exactly what it says it is. It's questions. So like, What do you remember from your arrival in Auschwitz? What did it mean to have your sister with you in the camps? What was it like to live in the camps? That sort of thing. So, and it talks about, you know, why did Hitler hate the Jews? What was your life like before the war? So it covers pretty much everything a kid might want to know about the Holocaust in a very straightforward way. You've got teens. Read Mouse. It's 2 volumes. It's a graphic novel. They read very quickly. I've written an entire lit bite for this, but again, this should be required reading, I think, for high schoolers. This is all about Art Spiegelman's father's experience during the war. It's set in Poland, and it's Art Spiegelman writing the story of his father's experiences while also writing his experiences writing the book. So it's very meta in that way, but it's a really great resource if you want to know, like, what happens when you start dehumanizing people? What happens when you start talking about how people are poisoning the blood of the country? And what happens when we start rounding people up and putting them into internment camps? And, like, where does that lead? So, read Mouse. Now, if that's all got you down and now you're getting upset and you're just feeling really discouraged, I have 2 more books for you. These are about resistance during World War II. I have Beyond Courage, The Untold Story of Jewish Resistance During the Holocaust by Doreen Rappaport. This is a pretty comprehensive book, so you're going to learn a lot about the Holocaust itself and about what was happening in Europe during the war, but it's also focusing on how people fought back, different ways that people were able to do something, because we all want to be able to say we did something. We don't want to sit back and watch this happen. So this is a great resource for going through, like, all the different ways people resisted. And then We Will Not Be Silent, The White Rose Student Resistance Movement That Defied Adolf Hitler by Russell Friedman. So there were people who disagreed with what Hitler did and were brave enough to stand up and do something about it. This is all about that. This is about the White Rose movement. Sophie Scholl and her brother and their friends who put pamphlets out and protested, and they died for that. Like, they were captured and shot, and they were killed for standing up and saying this isn't right, and we disagree, and we think we should do something about that. So this is a, like, children's version of that story. So it's, again, pictures. It's very readable. And this talks a lot about their movement and how it inspired other people. There's also so many other things we can do, but, like, I just wanted to do something. So I hope that I've given you something today to do something, to feel empowered. Homeschooling, especially secular homeschooling, is a form of resistance. We are doing something. We're guiding our children into a world that we don't know what it's going to look like, but we can give them all the tools we can. We can give them the resources they need, and we can hopefully build a better future. So yeah, I don't know. I hope this did something. I hope that I helped in some way. If you've got book recommendations you want to add to this, let me know down in the comments and we can chat about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.